Hello chess players, welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to see the game against Vidit Gujrathi versus Magnus Carlsen which was held on the Opera Rapid Championship on day 3, which is on 8th February 2021. So without wasting time, let's get into the game. So Vidit Gujrathi plays the white pieces and Magnus plays the black pieces. So Vidit opened with d4. Of course, Vidit wants to play a solid opening against Magnus. So Magnus plays d5 and Vidit plays c4. Magnus plays e6, playing the Queen's Gambit decline, and Vidit plays knight to f3. And now Magnus plays c6 and says that he wants to play some Slav kind of a setup, Slav defense, or we can say semi-Slav in the future move order. So Vidit played e3, natural move, and now comes the twist that Magnus plays f5, which is the reverse stone wall setup, where white plays f4, e3 and d4. Now black plays that in the reverse color. So Vidit played bishop d3, Magnus played knight to f6, and Vidit castles and Magnus plays bishop to d6. And now Vidit plays a key idea and plays b3. And now if black carelessly castles his king, then after bishop a3, exchanging black's good bishop would positionally weaken Magnus's position, because after this bishop a3, knight a3, the e5 square to the knight, if black plays knight to d7, knight to e5 and followed by f4 kind of moves would obviously frustrate white piece, black, where white has excellent space but black has to struggle along the game. So yeah, that's why black shouldn't castle in this position, and Magnus plays correctly bishop queen to e7. And now Vidit plays bishop to b2, that he can't play bishop a3, so he plays bishop to b2. And now Magnus castles, and now Vidit follows queen c1, which is a great move, threatening bishop a3 in the next move. But in this point, Magnus really can't stop bishop a3, because even if you play rook bishop c7, there is bishop a3 hunting the rook on f8. So even if you play something like rook to e8, then bishop a3, it is forced to exchange black bishop now. So yeah, Magnus played b6, bishop a3, bishop b7. Magnus continues his development without, taking is just losing moves for black. So he completes his development. Vidit captures and queen a3 played by Vidit, exchanging queens, and Magnus of course accepts the exchange and plays the position. And now Magnus plays g6, waiting in this position. And now Vidit plays rook fc1, trying to take some control in the c file. And now Magnus plays knight bd7, and now c takes d5, trying to create some open files in the c file and pressurizing the c6 pawn. And now c takes d5 obviously doesn't work because of rook c7 and problematic position for black. So e takes d5 is taken, e takes d5, and Magnus plays knight to c2. And now Vidit played knight to c2 and Magnus plays a5, trying to play a break kind of a4, and Vidit stops it by him playing a4. And now Magnus plays knight e4, and now white if white becomes careless and plays some move like knight a3, then after f4 Magnus will start pressing a little bit on the king side. So Vidit saw that obviously and played g3 controlling f4, and now Magnus played rook f to c8, and now Vidit played knight c to e1, which is kind of a dubious move because I mean knight to a3 would have been a little bit better, but knight to e1 is not so bad. And king to g7 played by Magnus, and now rook to c2, and now the dubious move of Magnus was c5. I mean, first he maybe could have played rook c7, rook c8, and then play this idea of c5, but he did it too early. So I mean, we can't say anything. Not too bad, but it is a dubious choice for now. And for c5, Vidit played bishop to b5, taking control of the b5 square. Since knight is attacked, Magnus played knight f8, and now rook a to c1. And in this position, Magnus made a huge mistake, I would say, huge mistake, which positionally almost demolishes black's position, directly demolishes black's position, because I will say the move Magnus played king to f6, which was a great blunder, because positional blunder I would say, because after knight to d3 Magnus is stuck off moves. Magnus should have played c takes d4, rook takes c8, rook takes c8, rook takes, and knight d4. This is the probable position that Magnus could have played, but king f6 was a positional blunder played by Magnus, and after knight d3 Magnus played c takes d4, and I want the viewers to pause the video and try to find a better plan for white. If you are thinking knight takes d4, then what is the plan after that? Just try to think for a few minutes by pausing this video. Okay, I think you would have thought about something maybe, but the correct move is bishop to c6. Congratulations if you have found it, because after bishop takes c6, rook takes c6, takes and takes, king g7, knight d4, the position is really cramped for black and really passive, and black should be on a defensive mode from here, and Magnus is not that kind of guy. He's always kind of active player, so he may not like this position and may have lost this game if Vidit had played bishop to c6. And if you didn't take bishop takes c6, then if you play something like rook b8, then it is the same. Bishop takes b7, rook takes c2, rook takes c2, rook takes b7, rook c6 check, king g7, knight takes d4, and still you get into this passive position and struggle till the end. And that too in a rapid game. It is really difficult to play from black pieces. You can see this pawn is totally weak in here. Okay, let's come back. Vidit didn't play, unfortunately, bishop c6. He played knight takes d4, which was indeed not a bad move, but it is kind of a second best move. And now Magnus realizes that he would have gone if Vidit played bishop c6. So he took rook c8 and exchanged everything. And now comes a pretty slightly advantage endgame for Vidit, but he messed it up. Bishop c6 played by Vidit, knight c3, and now Vidit tried to play some extraordinary moves, b4, and trying to break open the position and play for a win. If a takes b4, Magnus didn't play. Magnus played a tricky move in here. In this position, knight to e6, and now Vidit made a big mistake, positional mistake, which which made Magnus to press in the future positions. I mean, let me show that. Vidit played knight to b3, and here I want viewers to pause the video again and try to find a better move for black. This time for black. Last time I said for white. Any better plan for black? Please pause the video and think for a while. Okay, the correct move for black is knight to d8, and white should play probably only move is bishop to a8, because if you play bishop b5, then after knight takes b5, a takes b5, a4, the position is really in trouble, and after knight, something like knight c1, after bishop d7, you're losing this pawn. So coming back, if even bishop e8, the same thing, king e7, bishop b5 and knight takes b5, same variation is coming. So Vidit should play bishop a8, which happened in the game. And now Magnus started to be really precise with his moves, and almost played every other move in this future correctly. He played bishop a6, attacking this knight and threatening this pawn if he moves the knight. And now there was a move b5. b5 is a side variation. Vidit played knight f4, but I will show you what happens with b5. Bishop b7 could be played, and now it is forced to take. Bishop takes b7, knight takes b7, and now you can notice that a4 pawn is hanging. So you have to support this by knight to b2. And now after king e5, after king, something like king f1, king d6, black's king is somehow slow, and after king e1, knight c5, black is really strong to take this a4 pawn and play for a win. I mean, now there is some problems maybe, but indeed black is pressing this position. That is what I'm coming to say. But maybe b5 would have been a better try. I'm not sure about that, but I mean, Vidit played knight to f4, and a takes b4, knight takes d5 check. A takes b4 was obviously it's gonna go, so Magnus took it, and knight takes d5, Vidit takes the pawn, and bishop takes d5. And now Magnus played knight to e6, and now this position, because of this passed pawn in here which is formed on b4, now the position is become a slightly better position for black. And now black's plan, if white plays something like f4, then black maybe play moves like knight c5 and make a passer out of this. Make a passer about this b4 and c5 pawn, which is standing strong in here. So I mean, coming back, if bishop takes e6 and king takes e6, this is too tough to defend, and even king, bishop, both are coming in, and this position is clearly winning for black. This pawn would be rolled into queen. For knight e6, with it maybe it was like an interesting move which he played. He played a5, and Magnus took it, knight a5, knight c5. And now you can see there is only a one pawn which is really dangerous if king doesn't come fast to kind of catch this pawn. And now Vidit played f4, and now you can see the king is blocked because of this bishop, so he's creating a route with his king by f4. And now Magnus played bishop to b5, which was a dubious move. Magnus thought that he could bring like bishop d7, bishop e6, but the same thing could have been done by bishop to c8. and this one move tempo could have been a big matter, but it is rapid, so nobody can be perfect in it. So Magnus played bishop b5, Vidit played king f2 and bishop to d7, and now Vidit played e4. I mean, even if you play king e1, the position is passive. After bishop e6 takes, king d2, king d5, king c2, king e4, and now black is really clearing in and taking all of your pawns. So Vidit probably made the better choice by playing e4, and Magnus takes it, f takes e4, and after king e3, Magnus played bishop to e6. And now here Vidit took bishop takes e6, but if you take bishop takes e4, which is an interesting try for sure, after knight takes e4, king takes e4, b3, king d3, king f5, this position is actually a slightly minus position for black, for Vidit, that is white, but this is a playable position. After knight c6, if you don't play knight c6 and play something like king c3, then bishop d5 permanently it traps your knight, and if you take knight takes b3, then this pawn in game is hopefully winning for white. I'm not sure about that, but it should be winning. I am not sure, but these all things are really difficult to calculate in rapid. So Vidit didn't play bishop takes e4, which is a interesting variation and complicated variations to calculate, because both were very low on time and they were playing in seconds. After king takes e6, bishop takes e6, king takes e6, king d4, Vidit may have missed this move b3. If you take this, then b2, it is queening, and after b3, Vidit played knight to c4, but after knight a4, Vidit resigned, because if Vidit played knight d2, trying to defend this position somehow, then after b2, if you take king takes e4, then king d3, b1 queens is there, so that's a win. And if you played something like knight b1, then after king f5, this is a minus position for white, and slowly Magnus may able to win this position. So but before this, even in this position, Vidit resigned the game. So it was a brilliant game by Vidit for the first half of the game till the middle game, but in the end game, Magnus managed to conquer Vidit and shows why he is a world champion. And that's it for this video. I just wanted to show my analysis for this video, and thanks for watching this video. Please like if you like my commentary, and please subscribe if you are new here. Thanks for watching.